Okay, well, we will try to keep it exciting, hopefully with as many great takeaways as we got from that last session. I'm a Lock Alum fanboy. I'm also a Vitamin Shoppe fanboy, so I'm super excited to be sitting here with Muriel on stage. And I think the best way to start this conversation off before we even get into it is to take a look at some of the great work you guys have been producing over the last year, maybe along the lines of your health and wellness report, and I know we have a video, so I think we'll kick it off there and then we'll dive right in. If you haven't been into a Vitamin Shoppe recently, that's just like a small taste of what you've been missing. There's been, I would say, probably a massive transformation over the last 3 years, and a lot of that has been driven by the changing role of wellness in the lives of everybody across America, especially coming out of the pandemic. And a lot of that is due to the person I have sitting to my left here on stage, Muriel Gonzalez. She has a long and storied career in retail across places like Estee Lauder, Bergdorf Goodman, Saks Fifth Avenue, Macy's. In 2013, she was named Retailer of the Year by Women's Wear Daily, so I can't think of a better person to have on stage talking about the future of commerce and the future of retail. And she came out of what some would call retirement in 2020 to bring her same transformative leadership to the Vitamin Shoppe. So I'd love to just start there and hear a little bit about your story with the Vitamin Shoppe.
Sure. Well, it was 2020. It was the pandemic. I had retired from Macy's and was doing all the things that you don't get to do when you're working full-time in the high-pressure jobs that we all have. And was also having some time to take care of my new grandson. And guess what happened? The pandemic came, and as I say, I got furloughed from my babysitting job, and everybody was working from home, et cetera. And around that time, I got a call from the Vitamin Shoppe. I had spoken to them the previous year about doing some consulting for them. And they called me back and they said, you know what, our business has gone crazy during the pandemic. We are seeing so many new customers that we've never seen before. And we really have a challenge as to how we can make these customers for life, how we can take this moment and really capture it and be more merchant-led. And could you help us do that? And I said, sure, that sounds like a great challenge. I'd love to do that part-time. But in any event, it was a full-time challenge. And I said, you know what, this sounds like something that's going to be fun to do. So I wound up joining the Vitamin Shoppe in the middle of the pandemic. And it was really a very magical time because I'm a New Yorker. I knew the Vitamin Shoppe for years. My husband's a runner. He was consuming so many things from them. We're always getting boxes from the Vitamin Shoppe. But I wasn't familiar with the product category. And as a merchant and a marketer, and I've done both, I had done almost every other category. I'd done beauty in depth. I'd done accessories, shoes, intimate apparel, jewelry, decorative home, sportswear, but I didn't really know the health and wellness industry. And what a time to join it in the midst of the pandemic when it was on everybody's mind. And as a merchant, you look at almost any category. Every category has its nuances, but the objectives are the same. How do you satisfy the customer? What do you bring them that's not in your assortment? How can you make your assortment better? And what was so exciting for me and the entire team is that with health and wellness now being on everybody's mind for the pandemic, that just didn't go away. What it did was it took different forms. And in the midst of the pandemic, people wanted zinc, they wanted immunity products, people were, consuming large quantities of NAC, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, people started going back to work, back to weddings, back to special occasions, back to the gym. And then there were other things on people's mind. What do I use for the gym? Weight loss became more of an issue, having a fuller, healthy life. And as retailers of supplements, we're part of a much larger ecosystem, obviously, which has to do with nutrition, with sleep, with exercise. And we saw so much innovation with creators in the health and wellness space. We found so many creators who were taking what was just regular whey protein and having a collaboration like Ghost did with Chips Ahoy, with Oreo, which brought a whole new customer in. We saw so much innovation in the functional beverage and energy space with people, again, doing collaborations with everything from Pac-Man to having great flavors. So we started bringing in a lot of new product to really satisfy the new customer we were getting. And over the last 3 years, that customer has continued to evolve and change in terms of their priorities. So it's been very exciting.
No kidding. You talked a lot about a variety of different topics there that I'm super excited to get to, starting with the transformation of wellness as a priority in people's everyday lives, how that has continued to evolve over time as we've moved from pandemic to post-pandemic. You talked a lot about creators, new customers. We're going to get to a lot of that. I think the place I want to start is the first one you talked about, because there were a lot of brands that seized on pandemic trends at the time and have since been labeled pandemic darlings because they've seen their growth kind of fall off a cliff as we've emerged back into this real world. How have you been able to architect Vitamin Shoppe's maintained momentum? What are some of the things maybe unique to the retail experience, considering we're at a retail summit, some things unique to the brand experience that you think have helped keep people involved and continuing to come to you as that source of insight in their own wellness journeys?
Yeah, that's really interesting. When the Vitamin Shoppe really had two distinct businesses, and they were almost two parts of the store. And the first part was your traditional vitamins, minerals, supplements. Again, went crazy during the pandemic and very need-based. I have a issue with, joint pain or anything that a friend or a doctor or a practitioner might talk about. The other side of the store was sports nutrition, and that was the whey protein, creatine, all those kinds of brands. And the business, which was about, let's call it 55-45, then during pandemic went to like 62-48 on the vitamin mineral side. And what we saw was there was a real opportunity in sports nutrition. We had an underserved customer because it was not just for the gym rat. It was really, these kinds of products were an opportunity to cross over. As people become older and lose muscle mass, creatine is great for that. And on the other hand, people who are working out in the gym, they're having a more healthy lifestyle. They're using greens now. So we put together merchandising concepts like fit lifestyle and hydration to really cross-pollinate those customers with kinds of brands and products that they would want.
I love that note, and I think wellness is having a moment right now. Obviously, I think it's more than that, but it's a very complicated industry. There's a lot less understanding around which supplements are high quality, what is actually inside a lot of those supplements, and then you have this conversation happening around creators wondering if they're actually giving the right information. One thing that I think is so unique about the Vitamin Shoppe experience is your staff members, which you don't even call retail associates. They are health enthusiasts. The focus there is truly on education. I listened to a podcast of yours, and I mentioned this in our prep call, and I loved this little story where you talked about introducing a new product into the retail environment, and one of your health enthusiasts, the first thing they did was turn to the bottle around, looked right at the ingredients. They are highly trained to understand what ingredients are in each product so that they can use that when they're driving education in store, and I think one of the biggest things about that education piece is the building of trust. Can you talk at all about how health enthusiasts play a role? I even noticed that you're using them maybe as content creators in that video that you showed. How do you create that ecosystem? What's the role they play? How does it affect the brand? I think it's a huge win for anybody thinking about commerce experiences and that 1,000 little gestures we talked about before.
Well, you've really touched on what's really the heart of the Vitamin Shoppe, and that really is, as you say, we call them health enthusiasts, because there's a lot of easier things to sell if you want a retail selling career. You really have to be interested in the category to want to sell vitamins, minerals, and supplements, and they are. And it started our founder was a pharmacist and really wanted to give good service and good information to consumers. This was back in 1977. Lots changed since then. And as you say correctly, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. Everyone wants to be part of the supplement industry. There's doctors that prescribe supplements, chiropractors, nutritionists. There's a lot of people that are in this industry today, and there's a lot of misinformation. And there's a lot of places to get information, but how do you really sort through it? And it's got to be trust. And as you say, we do a lot to educate our health enthusiasts. We have a huge summit every other year, where all 700 store managers come and all of our resources come and talk to them about product. And they love doing it because they are so educated. And And the story that you tell, I had a new product. I went into a store. I wanted to see how it looked on the shelf. That was my objective. And they, took it around and really wanted to understand what was in the product, because they really do pride themselves on being able to help customers. And we make sure that they do, because, some retailers or some brands have different kind of ways to incentivize people. For us, it's about the entire store. We don't care what you sell. We don't care what brand it is. Certainly we like it when it's a private brand, but the most important thing is building that trust with the customer, because that's sacred. You can't, it's hard to buy. You can't buy it. You have to earn it.
It is interesting. And I think that probably is a big indicator for loyalty, like brand loyalty there. I think trust and loyalty certainly go hand in hand. As you build trust, they become loyal customers. With that loyalty, they put more of their information in your hands, which you can then use to provide better solutions. Are there other ways that you're evolving the customer experience to deepen that relationship? I think I've heard mention of a new loyalty program at Vitamin Shoppe, and I think that can be an interesting opportunity for any retailer to think about building that relationship.
Well, there's table stakes in loyalty today, and obviously having a good loyalty program is one of them. We're fortunate that about 85% of our customers do use our loyalty program. So obviously we have the data on those customers, 3 levels, bronze, silver, gold. And we continue also, we've partnered with CrowdTwist so that we give them additional points for filling out surveys, writing product reviews, et cetera. And we really cherish those customers. We cherish how important we are to them, because, again, we're not going to be the lowest price in town. We are competitive, of course, especially with our promotions and our coupons and all of that. But the reason people come to the Vitamin Shoppe is first of all, quality, innovation, and the expertise. And we really work hard on making sure that those 3 pillars that we have come to life in our stores.
With a high-touch sales process like the Health Enthusiasts, a robust loyalty program, you must have a lot of ample opportunity for personalization. It's been a topic for the previous 2 conversations. I'm curious how personalization just comes to life for the Vitamin Shoppe.
Yeah, and again, like everybody else, we can get a lot better at that. We can get a lot better on that. And, we are continuing to refine what we do there. But we have a long ways to go on that, because, again, as was pointed out before, the same customer who was interested in immune products a year ago hasn't refilled her pantry because she has plenty, and she's buying whey protein or creatine or energy drinks or hydration or greens today. So we still have a long way to go on that. We do have continued effort, but the most important personalization is in our stores. And it's very rewarding when you go into a store and you see that they know their customer. And the same customers are coming back again and again and again.
It's a good point, and something that I was thinking about this morning as I was preparing for today. But a lot of the Vitamin Shoppes have their own individual Instagram accounts. I know, like local Instagram accounts. It's amazing to give that much freedom, because it helps to build that relationship. It can also probably be a little bit intimidating because you want to maintain consistency. Talk us through a little bit of the strategy behind allowing for that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, all 700 stores have their own Instagram account. And our chief brand officer was the one who really insisted that even though it might be a little off-brand, we should allow them that freedom to make sure that they can connect with their community, and that, Instagram was a place where you could be a little bit not perfect. And it really has worked out to be something great, because when we have a very small but mighty social media team that monitors the Instagram accounts of the individual stores, we give them guidelines as to what makes a good post. They'll pick it up and they'll regram it. And we've had some great experiences with that, because then the health enthusiasts, when they see one of their posts get picked up nationally, it's a big win for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, how excited are they when they see it on the national Vitamin Shoppe Instagram channel? And I know.
We had a few of those actually when Prime Hydration was launched, and that was really kind of fun. When Logan Paul visited a store, talked to a kid, he posted it, the store posted it, we posted it, so. comments.
Yeah, that's actually a great little nugget for the next sort of section I want to move into, which is this idea of discovery and new brands. When you have trust, you can kind of introduce a lot of new opportunities or new discovery. I know I just talked about Instagram. I obviously feel compelled to just talk a little bit about Snap too. I'm not biased or anything. But one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be on stage with you today is Snap has been doing its own research into wellness and the wellness journey. And one of the things that we found that we think makes Snap a perfect fit is that element of trust that comes from close relationships. So Snap is the #1 close relationship platform. And we actually see that the #1 way people discover new wellness brands on Snap is through their friends and family, and that comes with added trust. They trust the recommendations from people closest to them. And I know you've talked a little bit about in your own health and wellness trends report how people are discovering new products. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the discovery journey that Vitamin Shoppe customers go through.
Yeah, I think, like everybody else, I would never have believed or understood, a few years back, what impact TikTok could have on the industry. And it does. And sometimes it's a trend that lasts just for a minute, and sometimes it lasts for a long period of time. I'll talk about the one that really has lasted, which I think is pretty amazing, which is creatine. Creatine has been around for a very long time. It's naturally occurring in the body. We had a very steady business year in, year out. When people started picking up on it on social media, or kind of at the same time as there was a shortage, and we jumped on it because we saw it was happening from a social media perspective, and our business grew by 5 times the level, and it has stayed there. This will be the 3rd year now that we'll be at this whole new level. That's only because it works. There can be things that happen that you might discover, you might hear about on any kind of social media, and if the product really doesn't work, it just lasts for a minute and it's over. A good example of that was a few years back, chlorophyll. People were talking on TikTok about how it cured acne. Well, we were wiped out of chlorophyll instantly, and chlorophyll has many other great qualities. We're at a higher level today than we were then, but that spike went up and down pretty quickly. So we have to be very nimble as retailers and merchants to understand what's going to last for a while and what's just a minute.
Actually, sparks a question for me that I wasn't even thinking about, but this idea of creating a safe space in retail shops to test and learn on some of those newer emerging trends. So any insights for the group about how you can offer the opportunity to fail quickly on certain trends like that? How do you decide that it's actually just a trend versus a longstanding opportunity in the wellness category?
Well, the interesting thing is that anytime something does become hot on social media within the vitamin mineral supplement space, chances are, because of our broad assortment, chances are we have it. Now, it may be item number 5,000, but chances are we have it. And so we generally are the beneficiary of some of those kinds of things. Now, sometimes it wipes us out, and we have to make a determination as to what level we're going to reorder and something like that. But we do have a broader assortment than just about anybody else in the space. And so that does enable us to have some of these more obscure products that sometimes have a moment.
On that note of having a broad assortment, one thing you've also talked about is this goal or this opportunity that you hold to bring an omni-channel presence to a lot of these direct-to-consumer wellness brands. There's obviously the potential for misinformation when you think about brands being promoted online and then bringing them into store, and you have this high sort of emphasis on trust and quality. How do you evaluate brands to bring into store, to experiment with, to bring in some of those younger consumers that have been flocking to Vitamin Shoppe over the last few years?
Yeah, well, we require our new brands to provide us with testing data. And we also do our own spot testing, to ensure quality. Our own private brands go through like 300 tests to ensure that they're not only FDA compliant but safe, and that they do everything for you that they say they do. But it is something that, again, nothing will last with us if it's not good. We are hyper focused on quality because, again, we can't break that trust.
Right. And it's probably also influenced a lot by the wellness research you do every year. So I know in 2023, you produced a big health and wellness trends report. I think we have a couple of minutes here, so I'd love to just hear what some of the outcomes were there, how those actually played out over the year, and maybe what you foresee in the future. And after that, maybe I'll give a chance to the audience to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, well, the trends that we saw last year have all continued into this year with a few new ones. And again, we saw creatine, which I just spoke about. We saw a lot going on in magnesium glycinate for stress and sleep. And what's really new this year is two things. Is one, as I asked the chief customer experience officer from CVS, is the impact of weight loss drugs. And we are seeing that there's a lot of digestive issues for people who take that. Our probiotics business has really taken off. And we also see, and we don't quite see this yet, but certainly in a reduced caloric intake, you might need more protein, you might want to take a supplement. We haven't quite seen the impact of that yet, something we're watching carefully for. We did see it pretty quickly in probiotics. So those are some of the things going forward. The other thing for this year that a lot of people are talking about, kind of the buzzy word, is not just longevity, but health span, how to live not only a long, but a healthy and vibrant life. And so we are, pulling together. We've had a lot of questions from our health enthusiasts, from our customers, as to how, whether it be joint support, whether it be brain and memory, whether it be keeping muscle mass. And we're making statements in all those things because we think it's very topical.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Muriel. I'd love to give a moment to the crowd. I think we have one right here in the front.
Any questions?
So Muriel, this is Vincent from Fireworks. So when I visit your physical store, I think the experience is amazing. It's very consultative, high-touch sales, and give me a lot of expertise about which vitamins and which nutritions to select. But on your online side, how are you thinking about bringing that offline high-touch sales to your .com?
That is the billion-dollar question. And what we do find is that a substantial amount of our customers do go online to research, and then they'll go into the store. It's impossible to really replicate quite that same experience, although we certainly have things in the works to do that. But a high-touch experience, you really need a person. And so we do a fair amount of things to drive customers into the store. There are certain promotions that we only have in store. We have dollar drinks every weekend. So if people, people are at the gym or they're dropping by, it's just a way to drop into the Vitamin Shop and drive some traffic. Because we know that that's our secret sauce, and we can't quite replicate that online.
Have you explored like a telehealth model, but for telehealth enthusiasts?
That's a good one. We'll have to look at that.
Hi, you talked a bit about trends, and the Vitamin Shop is a topic of conversation in my house because my 9-year-old begs to go there to get Prime. And you guys had it before a lot of other stores did, and he knew about it before I did. But how do you internally identify the trends? Is it social listening? Do you have a research department? How do you get ahead of it instead of just reacting to it?
Yeah, Prime is a great story. When we had, as a company, never done well with any hydration products. That was the story. And when Prime came to us with a hydration drink, backed with a celebrity and social media, there was some conversation, was like, would it even do well? And those team members who had young boys said, yeah, it will. So we brought it in, and what we thought was a 6-week supply. Of course, it was gone in 6 days. And then it was a question of continuing to chase it. And we saw a lot of young boys as a result, and young women and their parents. So again, it was a great way to expose the Vitamin Shop to people who never would have thought of it before. And also, you mentioned the fact of when you have other brands that are direct-to-consumer brands, if they want to go to a brick and mortar for their first entry, Vitamin Shop is a great place to go because of the health enthusiasts. You know that they will be knowledgeable, that they'll understand what your brand is, and we see that happening a lot as well. So it's not a research department. We have a good social media team. We have great merchants, and we just really listen to the customer, keep our ears to the ground.
I think we have time for one more question, and then I'm going to close with a lightning round.
So one of the things that I've noticed in the past 5 years, maybe because I'm getting older, so I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are getting older. I'm not, but I mean, they are. So anyways.
I understand.
Thank you. So one thing I've noticed in, at least I was just counting to myself, 7 different people, is that in the recovery, they're talking about how these physicians are giving them these bespoke vitamins. And I dug into it a little bit more because it became personal for me and our family to figure out, like, well, is this voodoo crap or what? And there are these companies I found, one in Baltimore, that mixes these and so on. Based on your sort of bespoke approach, is that something that you would ever partner with, since unfortunately there are more cases of these very extreme diseases among people in their 40s and 50s? So it's not just people who are like ready to die at 70, 80, 90. I just wondered if that's something that your company might be looking at.
We get a lot of approaches, and in fact, actually had we bought a brand several years back called what was it called? Forget. But it was basically customized vitamins based on a very long and complex questionnaire, and the company then kind of curated vitamins for you. So in other words, it wouldn't mix a specific vitamin, but it would curate what was best for you. And maybe it was ahead of its time, but it didn't really do that well. But it is certainly something that we're continuing to watch the space on. There are a few things out there that, do a similar kind of product. And there's a lot of interest in, and this is not our expertise, so we wouldn't try to do it ourselves, but if you have your blood work done, and what does that show? And how can we, for people who don't want pharma and who want to try to do things naturally, there's interest out there, but we would have to have a right partner for that, because that's not something we could do. But thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to close with one last question. Vitamin Shoppe has a broad assortment, a ton of products in store. Prime aside, what is your must-have product in store that we should all be getting?
All right, well, everybody should have a multivitamin, that's for sure. One of my favorite new products that I've been giving to all my friends is from Clean Simple Eats. They're based out of Utah. It's a young couple, and I get the greens, put 1 scoop of the greens or the collagen, either one, they're both amazing, into water, and you'll feel great. It tastes delicious. So Clean Simple Eats.
Amazing. Thank you so much again, Muriel. It was great to be on stage with you.